So is it a game? I don't know. What should we start with what's a game? Because those are related and they're hard. Hard questions.
I think it's easier to start with this is not a game.
Okay.
I don't think this is a video game. Because you don't do anything. Which I think like is a like you do less in this game than you do in Seen It. Which to me that seems like a pretty good floor. But yeah, I mean it's an
What's Seen
like
It?
do
Yeah,
you
I
remember
don't know
Seen It?
this.
It's like that board game that you play with your DVD player where you like watch clips from movies and have to answer questions and stuff.
That's so funny.
That's so good. I also like playing it with your DVD player. Like it's
it's a 2-player game.
Yeah.
Couch co-op with a DVD
yeah.
player.
But yeah, I just think like I press play and pause on movies. Does that mean it's a game? I don't. Where's the line? Like that's obviously not the line. But then is the line that I can watch through any part of the story at any point I want and put things together in my own way? Like that makes it interactive, definitely. But I think the lack of meaningful mechanics and like player interaction makes it just an interactive digital experience, which I don't think takes away from any of it. But if I said like you should play this game and I gave it to someone, like I think saying like this is a game that's going to be really fun to play is not that's not the right language for it.
Yeah, I disagree. I mean, I think that what you said at the end there, like it's an interactive digital experience, like that's what video games are to me. Like that, like investigating interactivity is what video games do as like a form, and it's a designed experience for you, and you do interact a lot, right? Like I mean, you're not just actually pressing play and pause, you're choosing where to go in a almost like choose your own adventure way. Like you can at any given frame you can choose which object to click, and at first you're kind of just clicking because you have no idea what's happening, really. I mean, the classic Teddy Discord line is I don't understand what I'm doing, but I love it. And that goes on for a while where you're just clicking and just seeing new footage and not sure what to do with it. But at some point later in the game, you're like, I want to go back there. Or like I'm trying to click this, or I want to see the relationship between like this person. And so I'm going to click on their face specifically. And I don't know, it turns into sort of like a mystery game, in my opinion. And you're sort of like the detective. And so for me, that's a game.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it sits in this weird place between like Carmen Sandiego, which like to me is a game, and like a choose your own adventure book or something, which like I would say isn't a game. And I think I do think the easy answer is yes. It's well, I don't know. I just feel like if you do anything, it's a game is like sort of dangerous. Maybe not dangerous, but like it's just like it gets pretty muddy there. Do you want to like do we want to talk about the mechanic a little bit and like how like do you think that is the driving force for why it's a game, or do you think it's more that you're like actively learning about the
Yeah, I mean, we should definitely talk about the mechanic, but I guess I would say I think for a while I was just sort of getting used to how to navigate the sort of like film grid and what I'm doing, what I'm looking at, what the controls are. And then as you get more into the story, you're starting to ask questions and be like, who are these people? Like, what are these sound cues? Like, what am I looking at? What happened to them? What happened in the movies? What happened to the people? And all these things. And yeah, to me, it's like a detective game, like a mystery game, like almost like an old school point and click, like Day of the Tentacle or something like that, where like that is more video gamey because it's like animated and you're like moving a character around, but you're sort of just clicking on stuff and reading and being like, oh, like figuring out this little puzzle and this little puzzle and like, oh, discovering what happened to this character and that character and like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I kind of wonder, like, is that possible to have with, like, is rereading a book like that? Is is the 100th time you read a poem like that, right? Like, is part of you just like understanding the meter of the poem is part of, like, are you sticking to the rhyme, right? Like, you're understanding how the flow of the poem works. Then you start to work on the imagery. Then you see how
Right.
like different lines like lead into other lines, right? What I think is really cool about this game is, like, actually it's like, to me it's like more of a movie than a movie.
Mm.
Like, you spend so much time in the world of the films that, like, you and with different films that it like changes your association with the movies in really in like a lot of different ways, but in a important way, I think, as it just alone as a movie. Like, the way I was watching every scene, I felt like so connected to it
Yeah.
as a film. Um, Even if it was like silly or bad or something, like I found myself like more moved and partly I think because I was more like dialed into the film aspect of a lot of it. Um, and like, I don't know if that means it's a game, right? Like, in some ways it's like more of a movie than a movie. I think I already said that, but it's just like, I
Yeah.
don't know. I just felt,
It's definitely a weird one. It's a
Yeah.
very
I think
unique one.
I think we're in good position to like dive into some specifics, but I think for me, it's what's strange about video games is like the boundary of films as a medium is so obvious. It's like, are there moving pictures on screen that you passively experience? Then it's a movie. Like, uh, are you reading ink on paper that tells a story? Like, you're reading a book. And then video games, it's like, it's just strange to me that like Candy Crush is the same thing as The Last of Us, which is the same thing as Call of Duty, which is the same thing as Immortality.
Yeah.
Right.
And like that,
It's
I don't know if
too
I don't know if the
wide.
language or categories exist to break those up meaningfully yet, but like I think it's worth setting those things aside from each other, especially
Yeah,
for
and I'm
example when you're
sure.
recommending something, being like, this is like,
Right.
you're not being honest with someone when you say you should play this video game called Immortality. You know what I
Which,
mean?
by the way, our mutual friend Leia, I texted her like 2 hours ago. I was like, you got to check this game out, Immortality. You'll love it. So eat shit. But like, you know, I'm sure there's other people with better definition of games, but none of them are going to be like, you know, foolproof. And like, like you said, Danny, it's just too wide, right? I mean, you can't. That's kind of why I go back to like, it's a designed experience, right? Like it's yeah, it's a choose your adventure, but there's deeper layers to that, and I'm finding them in like a sort of order, even though I'm sort of choosing my own nonlinear order. There's like free exploration in that way. Like, I'm exploring a range of possible actions in this interactive experience. And like, to me, that's a game, right? Like, I can read a poem 100 times and pull more and more from the words, but I'm not like scrubbing through. I'm not like going from a word to a different poem entirely. And like, you know what I mean? It's less interactive than just reading it over and over. In this game, you're not just watching the same clip over and over, or you're not even watching the movie. You never actually watch the full movie, right? Like, you're
Right.
just flying through time and space all the time. You're going from 1968 to 1999 to like other people and hidden things. I mean, to me, that was a game experience. But you know, there's that You guys see that movie Existenz?
I haven't.
It's like I don't know. I don't even really like it. It's a Cronenberg movie that was on like Netflix for a while, so I think that's why people started talking about it. But it's about sort of like the future games, and like, it's like these organic, gross Cronenberg-y things that are like games, and you plug them into your spine. But at one point, the guy's like, I think it's Jude Law. He's like, why are we even like playing this? Like, what's the point of this game? And the game designer's like, you have to play the game to find out why you're playing the game. It's like thought of that
Okay.
when I was playing this. It's
Okay.
like, all right, sure, yeah.
Yeah, that seems like a very 80s what they would
Yeah.
tolerate as philosophy.
Yes, exactly.